stars Kate Beckinsale as Lindy, a bouncer with a slightly murderous anger management problem that she controls with the help of an electronic-lined vest that she uses to shock herself back to normalcy whenever she gets homicidal. After the first guy she's ever fallen for, played by Jai Courtney, is murdered, she goes on a revenge-fueled rampage to find the killer while the cops pursue her as their chief suspect. This is directed by Tanya Wexler, whose previous film was last year's Buffaloed, and this just hit Amazon Prime this weekend. Besides the fact that I enjoyed this director's previous film, the other thing that caught my attention was that this seemed very stylish, and at the very least, it would be a visually stunning film. And to a degree, that is true. I'd say this is a nice enough looking film with some solid action scenes, though it's definitely nowhere near as beautifully filmed as I was hoping for it to be. But for what it was fine in that regard. Where the film was at its most fun would be when we get briefly into the mind of Beckinsale's Lindy. Considering she has an anger issue, there'd be a running gag where she encounters someone she doesn't like, and she thinks over what she's going to do with them. And what we get is this brief fantasy sequence where we see her taking her anger out on whoever it is in a very creative action scene, only for her to be snapped back to reality shortly after. Those were fun enough, though I gotta say, given the premise, it's a shame we didn't get more of these creative action scenes in the quote-unquote real-life sequences. This seemed like it was going for something slightly in the style of a hyper John Wick-like action movie. I even got a little bit of Project Power vibes from it as well, from the visual aesthetic, though unfortunately it never went quite as far as something like John Wick, never fully cranking things up to an 11, and it would lead to these very weird pacing issues between some of these action scenes that didn't do enough, and a lot of dialogue-driven moments. This is labeled as a dark comedy, though the thing is, it's not all that funny. It tries to go for a number of quirky exchanges between various characters, whether it be Lindy and the detectives, played by Bobby Cannavale and Laverne Cox, Lindy and her doctor, played by Stanley Tucci, or conversations among some of the villains, but they were never all that funny. The dialogue is actually pretty bad here, with much of the exposition and attempts at sounding against the grain coming off as clunky. One of the absolute worst moments actually comes in the opening, where we get some really bad narration from Susan Sarandon running through Lindy's entire backstory before the main events kick in. Not only was this rough to watch because of the poorly written dialogue, but also because, given the dense backstory, it would have been nice to see some of this played out. I get that you can only cover so much ground in a movie, but I do find it disappointing when films have such rich history for the characters and we only get it quickly explained via narration or text, when it would have been amazing to actually see. Plus, this also offers a few twists and turns along the way, but none of them quite work for me, and the one towards the end, which I won't spoil, definitely stretches one's suspension of disbelief quite a bit, and it ended things on a pretty sour note. What I will say though is Kate Beckinsale looked like she was having a good bit of fun with this. I actually haven't seen too many of her films, but she does seem like a really charismatic actress, and one who's game for just about anything, and her performance is what saved me from hating this. It's just a shame that the script didn't do her justice. Overall, there are plenty of other films that did this better, between John Wick, Kill Bill, or even recent films like Gunpowder Milkshake or Project Power, both of which I thought were only just fine, but they would be good alternatives. While this had its moments, unfortunately, it never truly finds its spark. Jolt gets a 4.5 out of 10. So let me know, did you see Jolt, or are you planning to see it, and what were your thoughts? Did you find it funny? Do you have a favorite Kate Beckinsale movie? Let me know in the comments below so we can discuss. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it, and for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching everyone, and keep having fun with film.